Okay, I am back and we have this journal here. Forgive me while I kind of reorientate myself. So we're ready to poke the holes and make the Coptic binding in this. And I have my bookbinding ruler here, which is going to make it a little bit easier, I think, to actually poke the holes in this and get this going. I have figured out in the meantime, while I was drinking my coffee and whatnot, exactly how this is going to work, because I have this extra inside flap for this. So usually when you do a Coptic binding, you're going to have the cover only and you wouldn't have this extra sheet, but I kind of like that. So I'm going to fold this out of the way for now while I decide where I want to punch the holes on this. So by designer's choice here, crafter's choice, I think I had an alligator clip around here and the cat was playing with it. And do I have it now? No. And for that, I am going to blame the cat. I wonder what happens to my things all the time. And it is because I live with cats. So I'm going to so I have these two book covers and they are now out of my way. Like that. So the nice thing about this ruler is that we can line it up in a couple of different ways and it's going to help us out. So I just have I've taken the signatures out basically, and I've taken these cover pages out, and the front and the back covers are lined up the way that they would be for the book. So I'm going to make sure I punch, see, you can see this here, holes in the right spot. And the nice thing about this is it measures 0 in the middle, and so if we line it up at 4 1/4, I believe 0 should be right in the middle. And then we can decide, I am going to go, and I think I'm going to do 3, just to make this a little bit faster to bind than this book, because this book has a evenly spaced 1 inch between, and it goes all the way up at 1 inch, and this one I might not want to do that. It's just kind of a lot. But we can go ahead and just decide to do 4 1/2-inch ones, maybe. And we can kind of see what those would look like. I don't want to do one that close to the bottom either, as I did on the other one. So let's line these up so that they are at 4 1/4 and 4 1/4. And that's going to help us get this and make sure that this line is lining up evenly here so that we can get all of this. And I am going to move this in a little tiny bit because I don't think that's like enough to really grab this. I think there's like a minimum amount you can do. And I think it's going to be a little bit better if we do a little bit more. Again, lining this up as well as we can at the top and the bottom, making sure these things are all lined up, because these are going to go be holes. They're going to be very visible. So we want to make sure everything is just lining up exactly the way we want it. And then we're going to hold this in place. And now I get to decide, do I want to go 1 1/2 inches? 1, 2, and then 1 1/2 inches, and then if I go another 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that's not going to work. And I didn't think that was going to work, and I don't know why I did. So I'm just trying to decide how many holes I want to have. And how close to the top and the bottom I want. So if we start at 0, if we start at 1/2 inch, it's going to be very different. Great. That's what I want to know. So is what I'm going to do here, I have decided, is maybe do here and here and then go an inch. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There we go. That's what we want to do. So I'm not going to start at 0. I'm going to start at a 1/2 inch from 0, and I'm just going to poke that right there. 1, 2, 3 in the 3rd hole. That's 1.5 inches. These are 1/2 inches. 1, 2, 3. I think that is exactly where I want this. So I'm going to poke one at a 1/2 inch. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And that's going to give me guidelines for this. I don't know that that went through all of the way into this. No, it did not. So I'm going to poke these ones, and then I'm going to use that. This is a template for also going through the back cover. And you don't need to make these holes too big or go through too much, I don't think. You just want to make sure it goes all the way through. And I can feel that coming out the back. You do want to have enough hole for this to pierce enough hole so that it will get in there so your needle can kind of pass through. And what we're going to have to do for this cover, because we're going to have to kind of do a little bit of rigmarolling. That is not quite right. Sorry, I didn't think about this as only 1 inch between here and here, so it's going to be a little bit. That one hole is going to be a little bit closer together, but that's just the way it's going to be. Okay, so now I'm going to line this back up, and then I'm just going to poke through those holes to get that. And I think I am going to bother to make a template to punch the pages as well, just because I'm trying to poke all the way through that bottom now. Okay, so this is the little bit of a hectic. I like to go front to our cover to the inside for this, just because you can have a little bit of a raised bit, and I want that to be on the inside of this book and not on the outside cover. So it kind of hides it a little bit if you have a little bit of like that where it's poking through. I'd just rather have that on the inside. There we go. Oh dear, we can't see it. 2, 3. Okay. And you could have spaced these any way that you want. I will say that I do think this is kind of a little bit of the painstaking part of this. Okay, so I am going to have to poke right into here, also holes in the signature in this first page so that these can come out here. And I want those to line up exactly with these holes. This, if you did not choose to do this way and have this cover sheet that's going to be in the first inside of the book, you don't need to worry about this, obviously, but this is how I like to make these. So kind of like to have this extra cover sheet. I have in the past just sewn this in as the first signature and then glued this down, and I think that's an okay way to do it. after I have sewn this together. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just line these right up and poke these holes as well. There's a lot of setup to get these pages ready to go. Okay, so that should be that, my friends. Oh, now I'm very, very confused because that is not in the same place. And I don't know why, because what in the heck did we do? I just made up a hole. Well, this is going to have an extra punched hole because I totally missed that one. I don't know what I did. I am going to try and close this hole up, and I have to come back and punch this hole, but for whatever reason, I just went off and punched this hole right here, and there was not supposed to be anything there. Totally missed it. It was supposed to be right here, and I mean, you can see it clearly. Clearly. Wonder if there's like a green sort of paper putty or something I can put in there and repair that. Put a sticker over it or something. Okay, well, don't do that. Whatever that was. Oops. Hopefully that's not going to cause us too many problems. I thought that they were spaced differently, and I didn't know why. And I still don't know why. Anyway, okay. Oops. So we made a mistake there. And that is going to just be there. So is what I want to do now is I really kind of want to get a piece of cardstock and make a actual template for this. So I'm just going to grab a piece of cardstock out of my pile, and I am just going to fold this in half. You don't need a piece this big, but for this I do want to get a template made so that I can reuse this to poke holes in all my signatures, and I think this is actually going to be a little bit faster than the other way that I did this. So last time I didn't do this way. I did it another way, and I'm going to line that up there, and I'm going to line that up on 4 1/4 and 4 1/4, and I'm just going to punch the same holes in here as I had on there, and just a little bit, check that and to make sure everything's where it should be. And I'm going to mark this with this. So what did we decide? It was like 1/2 inch up and 1/2 inch up, down. Let's actually get these holes. As long as they're straight, I don't think it matters. And then 1, 2, 3, 2, This pencil. Gonna have to fix that. Okay. Oh my gosh. Haha! Third time's the charm. So we have this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. That's shifting just ever so slightly. I think it's going to be okay if it shifts as long as we don't shift it up and down. I do kind of want these to be in the exact spot, right? 1, 2, 3. Maybe be good to have kind of taped this down. Okay, so that is going to be our template for that. We're going to put this in so we can poke our holes here, 1, 2, 3, but we should be able to just put these into our signatures, and this should fit right in there. And I did a really bad cutting job. I need to go back and sand that edge down a little bit more. Since I kind of want to make some of these and try and sell them, I am going to buy a tool to do this, so I'm not doing it with a ruler. Anyway, but it can be done. It's just a little bit painful, and also if you're making this as your own journal, you can make that decision. Does it really matter exactly? So we are going to punch our holes, and then we are going to make sure that these all line up the same. And they go into our book, and everything is going to be okay. We don't have a lot of space here to mess around with. So what I'm saying is like these covers pretty much need to be covering the entire signature. There's not a lot of wiggle room here. If our holes come out just a little bit off, then everything's going to not fit into the cover as well as we want. So this is a little bit fidgety, and we want to get it correct. So I'm just going to check these quickly before I go and do anything terribly drastic. With this. Make them all line up with, maybe say, the bottom of this. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So let's see. We want the bottom of the signature to align with this template, and then I'm going to put my holes in there. Because these are not exactly, a lot of these are the same. This one's kind of off. Just that one right there. Just a little, slightly off. measure twice and cut once, I tell ya. I tell ya, because that is off. So let's change that. Sorry, using my teeth so that this does not move. Okay, and then is everything else lining right up? So the only problem I'm seeing is if I line these signatures up, they're going to be like right up on the edge of this, and they're just going to be just ever so slightly off the top, and I think I'm okay with that for right now, until we can figure out a better way to do this. We are going to go with that. So I think everything's fine to punch these holes, but I want to punch this hole right there. And not that hole there. That hole there is off kilter and not going to line up with my covers, which I've already poked holes for. So we've measured, measured, and measured. Now we can poke and poke and poke, and I'm going to put these on the inside. These signatures do have a kind of a top and a bottom. I'm being very, very finicky about these holes because, for good reason. And see, that's kind of a problem. I think that this is going to line up like right on the bottom of this journal. And then this paper is just ever so slightly larger. And there's going to be a bigger gap there. It's going to be like a noticeable gap, which is kind of what I was thinking. And I don't know how to fix that. Who is clever out there and is watching this video and can kind of give me an idea about how to keep that, how to align this with that. And maybe the answer is to actually cut this so that it is in line with my papers. I think that might be actually the real way to do this, as I'm thinking about it. Do as I say, not as I do, I guess. I don't know. Where's the middle? What's the best way to find the middle? The middle, the middle. I don't know if I'm going to finish this video today. This is going to take quite a bit of time. One, two, trying to get these right directly into the center of that crease. That is why we'll put this in here, into the middle. I'm lining it up as I said I was going to. I'm just going for consistency here. Even though it's not going to be exactly what I want, I am going for a great deal of consistency and making sure these are lined up. So when you do this, if you poke this through into the center hole, punch it through, then it will go right through the center of your spine, which is exactly where you want it, just dead center. So I put that there where I want it, line it up, poke it through. Okay, I'm going to move those out of the way. For this last one, put it in the hole, fold this over, and then poke straight flat with the desk so that it comes out in the center, and you have these 3 holes. Let's check. Ooh, let's get rid of that poking out part, and you can see that these are aligning perfectly with each other, and hopefully with our covers, because That is going to make all the difference in the world. So you do all 6 of your signatures, or however many signatures you have. For this kind of binding, it's good to do at least 3 to 5 signatures. I think there's just a minimum of 3. I don't know why there's a minimum of 3 to 5. That doesn't make sense. That's not a minimum. That's a range. Okay. So poke it into the hole. Poke it straight through the edge. Hopefully we can get all of these done. Coptic stitch is such a beautiful way to bind a book. You can cover the stitches on the outside, or you can leave the spine exposed, or you can cover it with like some book page, and it's a great binding method. Okay, last 2. We are going to make sure this is, again, line these up because it's going to make a difference in how neat and crisp our binding looks when it's all done. We want it to be all lined up and everything, and also if you get it off wonkety, your pages are not going to sit right in your cover. You don't have any room here for this to not go the way you want it, because it will like poke out from your cover. Oops, inside, line it up. Okay, we are doing great. And that does not look straight to me, and it's not. Hold on. I was trying too hard, maybe. Got this off. Okay. Poke it into the center of the hole in our template. I'll show that to you again. There we go. Here's what I'm doing. Next hole. Poke it through. Next hole. Poke it through. Next hole. Uh-oh, we moved. Yikes. We are messing this all up. Okay. Hopefully that's where we moved. Fixed it, or it's going to be all off. You probably could have, should have, would have put a paper clip on this. Do it now to hold this in place so that it's not shifting all over creation on me. I don't know why I'm having so much problems with this last one, which I don't think I had with the other ones. Hopefully. Let's see how we did. At this stage, I guess if I only wanted to do 5 signatures, I could. And I could save this for something else. Make it into a junk journal. Maybe that's where papers from junk journals come from. Yeah, see, this one's way off. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's take this out. Yeah, I think I might have messed this one up. We might ditch this signature altogether. No, it's fine. I think this is fine. No. It is looking good. Great. Okay, a little bit of panic. It's very good. So now we have the front covers and the back covers, and we have all of this. So we're going to make a stack the way we want them. We're going to make sure that those all line up beautifully, and I think they do, with the exception of there's an extra hole here. So you're going to start at the back. So I want the back cover and the back signature to start out with, and the rest of these I'm going to set off to the side in the order that I want them, and these are all the same, so it doesn't really matter. Let's get some thread and a needle, and I am going to say that I like to use a shorter needle to do a Coptic binding. I have some, I think, really longer needles as well. Fascinating. I seem to be missing all of my needles. Well, that's good. I should have a whole bunch of them in here. And have I put them away? No, apparently not. Wait. This is exactly what I want. Look at this beautiful purple thread. I don't know why I have so much of it. This is what I used for the other book. That's why. So I do like to use a little bit of a short needle, and you can use a curved needle for this like you would have for, I think, like upholstery or carpet needle. Would also work well. And it's just a little bit easier. I don't think I need all of those. I don't think that's helping me. You can, at this point, see there's a hole in the bottom of this, which is why I have this little tube to put the needles in so they don't fall out. And I just kind of keep everything in there. We're done with that. What else are we done with? We don't need that at all. Just put the lid back on there while we're cleaning up. A stitch counter. I wonder, this must be the lid for this. Sure is. Okay, I have no idea where I even got that from. Cute little scissors. We want a long bit of thread for this. So I'm just going to unwind this. I am going to double this up as well. So I need a doubly long bit. This is going to take quite a bit of this thread because you need probably, it doesn't matter, we can tie this off and rethread it as we go along as many times as we need, but we're going to make a long bit here. Hopefully that's not too long. I'm going to be all over the place with this. And then that wax linen thread was in here last, and so just trying to make sure I have a hole in my needle to put my thread through. Okay, so I have this relatively small needle, and I'm going to double this thread. So that is how much we're going to have. So that's a good arm's length, maybe 2 arms lengths there, which is kind of a lot. And it might still only get us halfway through this book. We shall see. I will find a link to this binder's thread. I might have to look. I might have gotten this on Blick Arts. You could also look and see if your local art shop has bookbinding supplies. So basically what I like to do is to make this knot, and I guess you could just do an overhand knot, but I like to do a sewer's knot like this, and you just take this and then roll it off your finger and pull it tight, and that will make a knot. And so that's what I was doing there. So now you're going to start on the inside top hole of the last signature in your book, because we're going to do the back cover and the first signature first. And what I am going to do at this point, I am going to put a paper clip on this, and I'm going to do this in a way that's going to allow me to kind of find the centers of my signatures easily. So hopefully we haven't moved this paper. So I want to clip this just so that I can find the middle of this signature quickly and easily, just to make this a little bit easier for myself. So I'm going to go in through, this is the last signature in the book again, and the top hole I'm going to start at the top and pull this through. Let's free ourselves from scraps. I'm going to put that in my little basket so it's kind of where I can see it, but out of the way. Okay. Pulling that through. That's great. So we're through the first hole in the top of the signature. Now we're going to come and to the outside, and we're going to go from the outside to the inside. And so one thing, and I'm going to put a paper clip here too. Just hold on before we do this, because I have this extra flap. So I want to line this up first, kind of hold this in place. I'm going to do the second back of this signature. Now, this is just to make this easier for myself, to be sure. And I'm going to clip this to this back page because I want to kind of act like that's not entirely there. That makes sense? And I think the paper clips are going to be nice because hopefully it's going to give this a little bit of play as I go along. So I can kind of move this back and forth without too much problem. So I want that to work as one when I go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think that's going to be good. Okay, because now I am going to, oh yeah, I like that a lot. So now I'm going to come back through the back of this book and I'm going to go in through the outside. And then I'm going to have to come through this cover page. And I wouldn't have to do this if I didn't have this extra cover page. So I've made this a little bit more difficult on myself, and I have all this extra thread. Okay, but I think we have everything unlooped, and we have our first stitch partially made. Okay. Great. Now, I see what we did. We went right through the center of that, and that is not exactly where you want to be. So I'm going to sew back out through this to straighten this out, because I split and went through the front and the back, the left and the right side of that, if that makes sense. And I didn't really want to do that, split those two. I want to keep those two together. Good grief. Okay, so now what you want to do is we want to go around this loop. Okay? We're going to go underneath our first stitch, and then we're going to go back in to our signature. And I want to hold everything, make sure everything is lining up at this point. And everything is getting snug, but not too snug, and everything's lying in place. Okay. Go back in through our first hole. Just going to move that sliver so slightly out of the way. Great. We are on our way. This would be easier. This is not waxed. I should have waxed it myself. It doesn't come pre-waxed, and so I'm having a little bit more problems with tangling and getting caught in these paper clips that I've put here for my own convenience. So convenient. Okay. I can get rid of those if they kind of become a problem. When I did the other one, I had that much thicker thread and I did not bother to double thread this thread, and it was, I will say, easier than this, so you may want to use a thicker thread and not double thread it. Just a thought on how this could be done in a different way. Okay, out. So now I was on the inside, I've come to the outside, and so you can see in the middle of my signature I have a stitch going from the first to the second hole, and then we're going to do the same thing. So the next thing is we want to go in through the back of the book to the inside cover, make sure we don't grab corners. So this goes right up to there. And then we have to go to the outside of the cover page, which is fair. And I'm going to tuck this and make sure it's not getting caught on the edge of that page. Okay. And I was running this through my fingers to keep it from knotting up. Hopefully. Oh yeah, that's a good knot. Hopefully we can get that out. Okay. Patience. Lots of patience going on here. Okay. So I'm going to kind of just loosely run this through my fingers as I pull it to keep it from tangling itself. There we go. Pull that tight. And we're going to go around this loop. Wow. How are we doing this? Every time it's going through there. We're going 2 for 2. Okay. So you're going to go underneath that first stitch that's coming out from the back of the book. Pull all of this through in a neat and concise way. Whoop, whoop. All right. Great. Make sure everything's tight at this point because we want it to be neat and we want it to be tight and not have things be loose because that's going to kind of make our book shifty in the spine and things are going to go back and forth. We don't really necessarily want that. And I have somehow tied a knot in the middle of my threads. Okay. So, where are we in sewing this? We have come through the back of here. We have gone around, and we're going to go back into this same signature hole. Everything is going swimmingly. I'm holding this with my fingers to keep any problems from happening. Kind of keep everything moving together. Great, okay. And give that a little bit of a gentle tug, and we're going to find this third hole. And we're going to come down. Again, I'm going to pull this through, keeping an eye on this, right? Really kind of keeping an eye on it. Running it through my fingers, making sure that is tight there. Okay, because then we're going to turn this over. We're going to come to the back. We're going to go through the hole. This is where we kind of messed this up as we were going along. That's okay. I'm going to pull this through like that. Great. We're making great progress here. Give that a little bit of a gentle tug. Go back in through this hole. Here I want to make sure that I'm not splitting my two threads that I have. It also helps if you clean off your... For this, you might want to have plenty of room without scraps. For the most part, I am all about having as many scraps as humanly possible on my desk. It kind of helps with my creativity. I'm just going to pull that tight so that stitch looks good to me. And it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to pull this over and I'm going to go back around that stitch. So we are on that side, so we want to come back on this side. This is precisely why I think it is better to have a short needle for this, because eventually you're going to have a lot of stitches going on here, and it just gives you a little bit better. Ooh, hold on. So, grab this, just really kind of keep this together so everything's neat. Okay. And now we're going to go back into our signature, and you want to make sure that you're coming out through that same hole. You're in all the way through your signature, pulling this, letting that go through your fingers. There's a lot of flipping back and forth. Okay, pulling everything tight, and hopefully we have our stitch and it's nice and snug without being so tight that it's going to like rip through your signature, because that's kind of a bummer. So you go back out, running this again through the fingers so that our threads stay together. Great. Pull that tight, don't rip your paper. Find our needle. We found another scrap. We're going to throw that back over there. Okay, back in through our back cover. Neatly. Keeping everything going neatly in. It's really kind of the best thing you can do is just watch and make sure that it's going where you want it to go. Okay. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Back in through here. Great. That looks great. We did not catch that. Everything's good there. So give this a nice gentle tug, and we're basically going to go around that stitch. So we have the cover and then that cover paper, and now the signature. So we're going between the cover paper and the signature to make a going around that last stitch. And we have this part. There you go. See? Just like that. Okay. Now let's check. Make sure that looks okay. I'm just making sure that, like, I don't want to loop or anything here. I want that to be nice and snug and lying on the back cover. And then we're going to go back into this signature hole. Same signature. I'm going back in. Open this up. Oh, and see, we didn't get it in all the way. It got lost somewhere along the way. Okay, maybe that's better. Oh, there it is. There it is. We found it. Okay. Let's keep an eye on this. There we go. Okay. Now, pull this tight. Into the back of our book. And back out to the front. Let's pull this, pull this, pull this. Keeping that nice and straight. So what I would really like is for these to not be turning. Because they are a little crossed. I don't know that I really am a super fan of that. I hope you're crafting along. Maybe you're having a little bit more of a relaxing time and not doing this super complicated Coptic stitch. And maybe you are. If you are crafting along, I hope you've at least watched this video once. I think it's better in chunks. I might go ahead and make this into chunks. So, see, this is what I'm talking about. I want these to be like really super flat like this. I think that that's just a super nice attention to detail here. I'm going to hold that down with my thumb there while I do this, just to make sure this is pulled tight, so when it gets back over here, it's going to be very nice. Okay. Woo! Caught on my thumb now. And I'm just watching this to make sure that everybody is doing exactly what they should be, and they're not. Here we go. Now I'm going to let go of that. We are back. Okay. There we go. Pull that up there. We're just making a nice little knot there to kind of hold this in place a little bit better. I am pretty happy about where this is lying. In the past, when I've done this, sometimes this first signature has been kind of off and not laying really flat with the cover. It's been kind of shifted in. And so I'm kind of being careful and mindful of that not happening here. Okay, we are in here. Now we will pull this all tight. There we go. We're working on getting those stitches to lie exactly the way we want them. It's coming along. Practice makes perfect with this. It really, really does. So, you know, I do think this is kind of a worthwhile thing. because, like I said, this is kind of a more detail-oriented task, and if you want it to come out really nice in the end, which I am working on trying to get all of these details down and really thinking about them so that, you know, my threads aren't crossing or turning, they're lying flat. Just to give it a little bit neater look. And I don't think that you're going to get that on the first try. It's going to take some time and some practice and some skill to get this to actually the level that I want it to be at for me. But having said that, don't let that dissuade you. Definitely jump in, try, and learn this if you're interested in it. Because that is, I mean, this is kind of where I'm at, and I'm trying to make it a little bit better, and I'm learning about what can happen, can go wrong, and how to keep that from happening. And it's all just part of the process. You're not going to do it perfectly the first time, and it's going to get easier every time you do it because you're going to know more and more and more about it. That is one of the beautiful parts about all of these processes, really, is that there's really things to learn and little tiny things to learn as we practice. Okay. There we go. That is lovely. We are ready. Oh. Hold up. We needed to put the second signature on here. Oh my gosh, we got there. And I didn't do it right. But we should be going back into the second signature and leaving this guy attached. Okay, so I'm just going to sew back through there and hopefully, great. So when you come around, that last hole on here, so now we're going to go back up into the second signature. So we want to make sure we're grabbing the next signature from our stack. I am going to go ahead and do a little bit of paper clipping here. So I think I am done with the back cover. And I am done with this signature, and I don't need to mess around with it anymore. And so I am going to just, I don't want to make too big a paper clip thing, but I'm going to paper clip that all together so it kind of comes as one brilliant thing. And I think I'm going to take this back cover as well and not paper clip this whole thing, but I am just going to kind of clip that back cover. So this will all be one thing, and there you go. So I've paper clipped on the top and the bottom just this back cover page to there, and then I've taken and clipped the cover page to my signature because I don't want that flapping around and getting in the way, and that'll kind of help hopefully from kind of cut things together that need to be together. And I am going to take and put one here just so that I can open this easily to the center in case I need to find my thing. And these are just things to make this a little bit easier for me as I'm going along, because I can never find where the center of the signature is. And that's what I need right now, is the center of my second signature. Is really all I'm going to need access to be on the inside of this book. So let's check this and make sure we're not forming any knots as we go along, because that is a thing we have learned that we don't want. There we go. So now we are in, not completely, we did make a knot after all. Yes, we did. Oh dear. We are all tangled up here today. So I am going to take the time to unknot this, or else I'm going to have a very messy spine, which is not what I want at all. I am not liking that. You know, I made a choice this morning because I have two things that I want to do this week, and one of them was painting and doing some jelly prints and just painting, and I have these cool digital prints of some cats, and they have really cool like pink and oranges for the most part, and I was gonna play around with these like really kind of groovy cat printouts that I made and make some cool ephemera in matching colors, and it was going to be super fun, and I am going to do that tomorrow now, assuming I finish this. If I don't finish this, I am probably still going to do that tomorrow, and then I will finish this on Wednesday during my filming time, and then I'm not going to get to record anything super. On Thursday, we're going out of town, so I'm going to have a break in my schedule after that. So, I might be finishing this on Wednesday if I can't get this reasonably to work. So, this might wind up being a series of videos on how to make this, and that's okay. I think it'd be better to maybe think really through the way we're doing this. Okay, so I have hopefully maybe enough of this straightened out, because that was just very twisted, and was not happy with how that looked. So I have pulled it out, straightened this thread out, thought about what I'm doing with the rest of my week, and we're back to putting this second signature in. If I had to do this over with, I think I would do it a little bit differently. So that's that. It's in. That's all you have to do is go in through this. And we are going to go, there's nothing else to be done there. We're just attaching that. And then we'll go in through this second hole, just like we were doing. Okay, it is coming. Okay, patience. So, sewing. We are sewing. Sewing. Let's line these all up very nicely. We're going to attach that. We pull down a little bit, not too tight, but I think it will loosen. So now we want to go through the stitch below. And in the same way that we've been doing this, really and truly, Ooh. It's kind of nice if you can get it to go right there, and then you can grab it. Okay, so we're going around that second stitch. Okay, pull that tight, line that all up, and back in through this signature. This hole is not being super kind to me, but we'll be patient with it. Just kind of keep going, right? Carrying on. We have a lot of signatures in this book. This is, I think, why this is a lot more time consuming than doing the pamphlet stitch. The pamphlet stitch is, I think, probably one of the easier ways to do bookbinding. The Coptic stitch, I think, is a cool way to go because there's a lot of different things you can do with it. And again, it's very nice for a writing journal because it will allow your book to lie flat, which is going to much improve your handwriting when you're in here. I wanted to make journals. I have a friend who was talking about because I was talking about maybe selling some of these journals. And they were asking about whether or not we could do this for work notebooks. And the answer is, maybe. But given the amount of time, it would be very difficult. I don't know. I don't know if I would use this as a work notebook. Maybe. I just think it's too much. And that there would be a different kind of a binding that might be a bit more agreeable to doing something like that. Okay. Now this will go back in. Easy as you pleasy. But also I think, again, if I used a little bit thicker thread and not this really fine, that I wouldn't be having all of the problems if this was kind of a waxed linen thread. I think that this is what the waxing is really there to help with. This one seems like possibly it shifted ever so slightly because I don't seem to be finding the holes as easily. Okay, great. Let's put that over there. Let's go right in between here. Great. So 3D thrilling experience on the camera going on, I'm sure. I'm not looking at this. I'm going recording blind here. There you go. You get to see it here first. Hopefully that's not too blurry for you. I can't tell from over here. Here we go. I wonder... I am wondering if, this might not be a bad thing to take with me up to the lake as kind of a craft. To just take a notebook that's like, if it's already set. This is not the most relaxing thing. That is true. But we are going up to stay at the lake this weekend. And I'm kind of thinking that I don't think this would be a terrible thing to take as a lakeside craft, because if you can get this, it's a little detail oriented. This is true, but it would be if you had the pages and the covers and you were just doing this part of sewing the binding, then I think it would be nice, because it's going to take a little bit of time to do. That is true. But it might just be enough to kind of be able to sit out in the chair, and you don't have to have a lot of, you also don't have to have a lot of stuff. I don't have to take glue sticks and paper scraps and boxes and boxes of stuff. I could put this in, like, you know, one small little container and travel with it and have a little bit of sewing fun. If you can get it to the point where you have it to this point. Also, you could take some signatures with you. Look at me, I'm trying to work on my vacation. You know, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm supposed to be taking time off to spend with the family, and I am trying to figure out how to make it into a work situation. These holes, I think these papers did shift just ever so slightly, and so the holes aren't quite aligning where they ought. And it's just fine making it a little bit harder to get through those holes. This is definitely a labor of love here, and patience. Make sure we have the right two together. Okay. And that's okay. That is perfectly fine, because these things should be made with a lot of patience and love, if you want my honest opinion. I feel like that is kind of loose. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. I think it's okay now. Let's just check, since we're talking about loose things. Let us, ooh, well, we can't. We have to fix that. Okay, we don't need to do that. We've already seen it. It's fine. I was just going to go back and check and make sure everything was nice and tight. But in here, I mean, everything seems to be nice and tight. That's a little loose right there. But not too. Okay. My gosh. Gosh, golly. Watch this. Just help ourselves right there. It's a little bit easier to just redo those with the awl than it is to kind of try and blindly poke our way through with the needle. There's only so much I want to do with the needle. That is coming along. This is going to only help us. Okay. So this one's a little bit easier because we're near the edge, going underneath that last stitch and coming out right there. There we go. And this signature is almost done. So now we're at the top hole. We have made it to the top hole, and we are ready to do the next signature. So we're going to grab that, and this is the top, and this is the bottom, and that aligns with the top and the bottom of what we've already put on. And so, we want to add our paper clip here, because that is really truly helpful with helping us to find the centers of these papers as we're going along. Okay. Now we can go ahead and just paper clip this previous signature, which we're done with, to the top of the previous signature. That's just going to help again with keeping us going into the right signature. We can maybe start taking some of these things apart. We probably don't need like this. It's just kind of bulky and difficult. I'm going to leave the rest in there for now. Again, I can move this one into the center because now I don't have a center one. And just take those first two signatures and kind of clip them together so that they're not flapping around too much and getting in my way. That is just one thing. It's going to make my life a little bit easier. And so now we're in the second signature and we're going into the top hole on the third signature. And we go right straight into the middle and just pull that through. Okay. So now we're starting to attach that. And we can go down into the second signature already, or to the second hole, the second station in there. And we have that. It's fabulous. Great. Everything is aligning. Great, 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 great. All right. You do want this to align on this spine here. So we're going down through that next stitch and I'm going to go around that and then back in to, surprise, surprise, that same hole. So it's just basically doing the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. And repeating and repeating and repeating until we get to the back cover. And we're going to sew that on with the first signature. So you just keep going. I may. Too bad I didn't do this and already have another one of these made. You know, like when you did the cooking shows. I don't know if that's how they still do the cooking shows. I think they do more video editing, but they used to do, like, you know, here's the cake, and you put it in the oven, and then you pull it out of the oven. And they would magically just pull a new one out of the oven. Time has passed. Tricks. This would be great if I already had one of these exactly the same, and I could just be like, ta-da-ta-da! But that is not how I do my movie magic. I do my movie magic through editing, so I have to keep going. Even though I'm thinking I might cut down the size of my video by not showing all of this or speeding all of this up. And maybe I won't. Maybe I'll make you watch it for cozy crafting time. I might make a separate Coptic binding video for this. I just think that might be enough. Okay, we are coming along. This is looking really good. I'm really glad I'm taking my time and paying attention to the details on this. I think it's just making it ever so slightly nicer. You can see this one's not that great, but this one looks like, I mean, you can see the chain stitching is very, very nice. I would like for all of my chain stitching to look just as detailed and nice. So that is why I'm going really into the details of this like this. So this one, let's hold that over there and see. And it's just a matter of making sure these like stitches lie flat and are all kind of going in the same direction that you want them to go when you do this thing. Yep. Making sure I'm pulling this tight. Going back in through that hole. Oh dear, that's a mess. Oh no. Look at that. That's just disaster. Disaster. Okay. Going back and fixing that, so I've just kind of I went through and I was not happy with how it looked on the inside of there when I came back, and so I went back out and was able to pull it a little bit tighter and a little bit nicer, and really get it to where I wanted it, and I think that's going to really pay off, these kind of like little details, because that was really too loose. Really gonna like not be very good. So let's check our stitches and just make sure that as we go along we're happy with everything. That is just part of how we're gonna roll on this. If that is making any sense to you guys, and hopefully it is. This is kind of a perfectionist kind of a thing. Okay. There you go. You don't always get to see the perfectionist in me. But here she is today. So, learning our lesson from our last thing, let's make sure that those are still laying the way we want. And so what we can do is pull on both of these separately and just kind of make sure it's doing exactly what we want. We are learning some lessons here, and we are learning our lessons here. One of the lessons is this is just kind of a detail-oriented thing that we may truly want to consider the fact that this is a time-consuming task. Great. Ooh. There it is, it's there. You're fine. Going down into there, and then we're going to grab another signature, and we are going to make sure that we're in the right orientation. With this is the top and the bottom. These signatures are, I will say, fairly easy to navigate because there is a little bit noticeable, like more margin at the top of these papers than the bottom, so you don't have to mark them necessarily as tops and bottoms. And so now we've looped around the signature, and we're going to skip going back into that third. Where are we? 1, 2, 3. This is the fourth signature, guys. So this does kind of start to pick up. We're going to do this one more time, and then we're going to sew the first signature. This is actually the third signature. We just sewed the fourth signature in, because we're going backwards. Remember when we started with the sixth and the back cover. So we have this, and holding everything where we want it, and just tightening that up. Those look really good. They're lying like really super even with each other, exactly where we want them, but they're not tight enough. So there's a loop on the outside. See, there's this loop. We can fix that by just pulling here. Okay. I do like to get these fairly tight. I think that I'm getting them a little bit too tight. Maybe that one signature is kind of rolling over inside here. So I'm not super keen on that. Let's see if we can go back to this signature. Just kind of, I don't know what I'm thinking here. This signature right here is kind of shifted up away from the spine. And I'm just kind of wondering if it needs to be a little looser there and a little tighter there. So, and then this one's too tightly sewn to that. Anyhow, crap. How do we fix that? How do we fix that? Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know if you can see it. These ones are like really flat, and this one's kind of sewn towards that. And maybe as we sew this next signature on, it might help and it might not. So guys, I'm going to turn the air conditioner on, and so I'm going to just speed this part of this up because it's right underneath the desk. It's going to be super noisy. And I'm going to speed through some of this. I'm probably doing voiceover on this video. So sorry. But it's hot. When I get to the last signature, I will go ahead and, okay. Great. That looks beautiful. Coming out, and we're going to sew right through there. Woo! A woohoo! So we have that. We're going to go directly through here. line that up so nicely. Now, here we go, back in there. We are going to do our best to sew a cover with the rest. Okay, so this is a little bit of a detail-oriented task. It's making a lovely, lovely hand-bound book that you can write in. Okay, so, here we go. We are going to do this thing. Okay. These are very tight and a little bit difficult to grasp. There you go. Here we go back in to there. How does that look? Pretty good. That's much looser. My signature I did so much looser, and so I do think that there is a little bit to be said. So practicing, I don't think you're going to get like a perfect cover. Don't. And I think that the more you do this, this is actually a brilliant skill to have, and this is kind of a finicky skill. So I'm going to do a Coptic stitch for this journal, and it's going to be a journal series where one more. Going on to here. One more. Okay. You can see it's twisted. Not super happy about that, because that is one of the ways that we get this to not be the way we want it to be. Okay. Okay. Brilliant. So I really like that one. That one's coming along really, really well. I don't know why. We're going to need to tie this off here, which means I really do want that to be pulled tight. Okay. Oh, golly, that's not great. Tying a knot right there. Okay, I think this will give me enough to finish this. This is not as tight as I wanted it, which I think will hopefully be okay. This is very beautiful. This is okay. This is a wreck. This is, again, okay. Not everything I want this to be. So, we're going to just kind of keep going with this in the middle. So we're going to go down into the next hole, and this is going to be absolutely fine. We should have enough thread at this point to finish this book up. Okay, So we're just going to start right there. It's very, very, very twisted. So here you see me. So here you see doing a little bit of a thing. That is that, and this will go back into that thing. Hi guys, I am doing, this doesn't really fit into the cozy crafting with me. I fit a lot of things into this. This is a very detailed and hectic binding day, but I did want to make it. There you go. Okay. Alright guys, so I have sewn on all of these signatures, and I only have the last signature, so the first signature is what this is going to be, and the front cover left to go. So let's see how we're going to do this. We sew on the front cover and the first signature together at the same time, and it's really kind of similar to how we've been going, but we want to go first into the front signature, and we're going to go through the front cover and then into the inside of the front cover, so outside of the front cover to the inside of the front cover. We have this extra hole to go through, so we'll travel through that. That looks like it's going to be nice. I'm just kind of paying attention to how this is going to lay. That's great. And then we are just going to go into that first top signature. And that will be done. Okay. So we have that, and that's what that looks like. And now we're on the inside of here, so of course we're going to go into this next station and come out. And we're going to be paying attention. We have a lot of things flapping around, but it's all going to kind of come tight as we're going along. So that's that. So now we're in there. So then, of course, the next thing going along, like we've been going along, is we're going to go down to the stitch below that. Oh, this is not, let's make sure this is a loop over here. Let's be paying attention to that, because we don't want that. That would be a disaster. if we got farther than that. But not now. So we're making sure everything's tight, and we've cleaned up that loop there that was not so nice. So we've come through the second station, and we're just going to go back down like we've been doing into this second, to the stitch right below us, and we want to sew that. This is not going through the way that I'd like it to. There we go. That's fabulous. I love the way that's lining up there. And so then we can go right back in to our station that we had just come through. Great. Hopefully we're right in the center, and we are. Things are looking up for us, guys. We are getting this done. Oh, wait. We forgot to do this. I kind of thought it didn't look right. Let's sew the cover on as well, shall we? So now we're going to go into the front of the cover, maybe. Keep that going so we have everything attached at the end. Into that. Great. And then back through the hole underneath. You don't necessarily have this, but for this book I have included that. An extra bit. Make sure this is lining up where we want it. Great, everything's nice and tight, and then we'll go back around that. Back around there for that stitch. Okay, we're going to get that nice and snug. And then we will go back into that for second station in the first signature here. And there we can come back out. Great. Pull tight, make sure we don't have any looping going on. It can be a little bit loose is what I'm seeing. Is it's a little bit better if it's a little bit loose. So I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go towards the bottom of the book. And, ooh, pull that tight, not too tight. Okay. Tight, but not too tight. Is what I always say. Let's see if I can get this stitch. You can always open this up and get that out of there, but I am trying for the life of me to not do that. So go around that stitch below, and then we're going to go in through the top of our cover. Make sure that is just lying the way you want it to, with both of my threads. Being a little nitpicky, a little nitpicky that I didn't on this, because I just want it to be as nice as it can possibly, as nice as I can possibly make this. And now I'm going to go back the other direction. So now I'm going to go back the other direction towards the top of the book. And then, okay, I'm going to be sewn permanently into this book. How's that for dedication? Then go right back through that same station in the first signature, all the way to the middle, and we're going to pull this through. We are almost done. We almost have a beautiful, beautiful journal. Because once we get this part done, it is going to be beautiful. So we go all the way to the next signature. Go through that stitch again. Wow, that was a tight one. I think that's where I went ahead and went back and I tied the new page on, the new, yeah, and so I made sure that was super tight since I was making a knot there and I wanted everything to come out. So you can go back through that way. It's going to make that a little bit nicer and easier for you, and make sure that's all nice and tight. So we're going to go up to the front cover now and pull that nice and through here. Ooh. Okay. Okay. And now we're going to go back up towards the top when we sew this way. Right? Okay. That's what we're doing. And now we want to go back in through our signature. And we are just going to keep doing this the exact same way until we have gone all the way up this signature. There we go. I am ready for some lemonade here today. That is kind of what I want. I'm going to make that lay flat that way. And then I am going to go ahead and take a second to make sure that I have untwisted my entire thread so that these will lie flat together and not be super twisty, just because it's going to look nicer in my finished product. And now I'm going to go from the front of the book to the back of the book, and these are too tight in there now for me to do my little trick, and that might be a thing I'm going to have to personally work on, is getting the tension in these things to be even. Because again, I want these to be really, truly nice. So I'm going to practice and practice and practice until I have this right. So it is as beautiful as it is functional. Okay, so there's that. Snug but not too tight. I hope, I hope, I hope. And here we go. Coming back through there. We are going to go back up towards the top of the book and make one additional stitch through the top of here to kind of just get that nice, and that one is just so tight in there. The one below has definitely worked its way out. Even tension, guys, even tension. A nice even keel. All right, we have our last one, and I am so excited. So excited. I love to make books, and I am super excited that I now have these two beautiful writing journals. And also, again, just super happy to have this paper as an option to include in my junk journals. So we've gone through towards the bottom, the second stitch below, and we're coming through our cover. Let's make a really nice stitch here. Keep it nice and tight because it's going to be very close to the knot that we're like using to bind this off with. And then we want to go from the top, from the bottom to the top. This is going to be nice and easy, squeezy pleasy for us today. Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is coming along. I need to work on my stitches just a little bit, but I do think that this is really a beautiful way to bind a book. And then back in here, and we're going to just tie this off, and I will show you how to make a knot. And you can also use this when I had to add more thread. I use the same knot to tie this off. And so basically you just want to make sure that everything's tight enough and no loops are being made. So I'm going to hold that taut there. I'm going to go underneath here. Maybe. So I'm going underneath, and then I'm going to sew over the top of this thread in the binding and through this loop that right through the center of this loop that I made. And I'm going to go slow so that that will tie itself off right there. And then I like to just repeat that nice little knot, and then I can cut that off pretty short and be sure that that is not going to come loose. And the one thing you want is to just make sure that you're going so that that's going to sit right on top of the other one. There you go. You have a beautiful knot that is not going to come out. You can feel good about that and just cut it off there, and you're done. And I always have it a little bit loose, but that's okay. And this is our binding. And I might have made this just slightly too tight in some places and not tight enough in others. And I'm just going to work it. Work it, work it, work it back and forth. That is our book. We can take out our... I don't know if it's like super necessary to include that. You could just cut this bit off. You could cut it off now, I suppose, if you didn't like it. But I like it. If you didn't want to cut it off, you could just glue it down like that. But you can include all of this. So now we have a writing journal. It has all of these beautiful colored pages in it, and it will lie flat as you're writing. And I look forward to making more of these, and also making some more of these for sure. I might put some of these up in the Etsy shop. If you are interested in purchasing one, check the link below to my Etsy shop. And there may be some in there. There may not, depending on things. But right now, things are not moving very quickly out of my Etsy shop. So you may find that in here. You may find this in here. I'm probably going to use this one for my own personal journal, but I do also have this one. So that is how you can make your own writing journal. I hope that if you decide to make one of these, drop a comment in the links below. I would love to know. Put it on the Facebook page or link me in your Instagram. I am super excited about these. I just absolutely love it. I want to play around with the covers. I want to play around with the closure. I'm going to have to look and see. I think this is, I mean, this seems like very sturdily attached. I'm super excited about that being a thing. Pin loop. I would move that up. I'm going to work on getting my stitching to be a little more consistent so that I don't see things like this, and work that out. But all in all, I think this is a great handmade book. I hope you try this. You can also do this for, I make art journals a lot like this. So that's how you do that. Thanks for joining me here today. Like, subscribe, and share.